Okay, so a few more versions of Moxa. So this is a very nice approach to Moxa, very centering, salt Moxa, and just you only need enough salt just to fill the navel, so not very much. And actually, the salt that I would use in practice would be the cheapest salt you can find, basically. Use table salt, cheap table salt. This is slightly too good quality, I think. And the better quality is the more granules you have. And of course, the danger then is that one of those granules, as you take the Moxa off, plops from the area onto the person, therefore burning the skin. So use the really fine stuff, yeah, the really fine table salt if you can, yeah, and just make a nice little bed like that for the Moxa to sit on. And then a cone about the same size as the ones that we used for the ginger Moxa, and put that onto the navel. So you want the cone, the base of the cone, to be less than the circumference of your salt. Okay. Then same as before, we're going to light that with the taper of the incense stick. And this version of Moxa works very, very nicely with using the abdominal work afterwards. Abdominal tweener work after this is absolutely fantastic. So just touch the top of the cone. There we have it. And that will smolder down, and that will feel pretty comfortable for quite a long time. So it's going to burn all the way down to just above its base. And it'll take a while before Isabel feels anything. And when she feels it, she'll tell me when it's warm, which is nice, and then when it's too hot. And in practice, you would apply 3, about that size would be just about right. Could be more, but 3 that size. By the time you've done the 3rd, unless the person's really cold, by the time you've done the 3rd, they'll start to feel the warmth penetrating into the abdomen. So not just on the surface, but deep into the body. And that's really what we're after. We're after the tonification and warming that this can produce to both the middle jiao and the lower jiao. So this is very useful for any of your Zhengjia situations, so concretions and conglomerations that might be causing menstrual and fertility problems. I use it a lot for fertility and for digestive issues, weak spleen, also for the bladder. If you're having problems with the bladder, weak bladder, or retention of urine, that kind of problem. This is a very useful technique. Really transforms cold and dampness. So if anything's sinking and we want the qi to raise, we've talked a lot about descending, but this is about raising the qi upwards, then this would be a fantastic way to do that. And as before, you just want to have your vessel, which is going to contain that burnt Moxa, close by. Keep that close. We can discard the incense stick. So Isabel will tell me when she feels this becoming warm, and then after it's warm, when it feels like it's too hot. It's warm now. Come close, because you're going to have to pick this up underneath. This is the bit that students don't like to learn. Hot. Lift it up, your vessel's close. Okay. And then you put your salt back in place nicely. And then if you're using the jar approach, or we've got a similar vessel here, just close that, contain that area. And that is the salt Moxa. So the thing that people find intimidating at first, shall we say, is how do I take it up? So let's say that's burnt its way down. I don't really need this now. Let's put that there. Let's say this is burnt down now, we're right at the bottom. Yeah, you need to have the vessel close to you. So let's say here's your vessel. It's close to the area, yeah, close to the moxa, and you're lifting it from underneath, yeah? Lifting it from underneath. You might get a bit of the salt, that's why I was saying better to have table salt, not this nice stuff. Underneath, and then drop it in quickly. So it's a very quick movement, lift, drop. Some people try to do it with forceps, and some can do it like that, but often it ends up all over the place. So it's better to practice it with this method, and just the main thing is make sure that vessel to catch it in is really close. Get in underneath and straight in. Yeah, so really nice work. And after that, of course, it's perfect for bringing the palm over Dip.Tui Genvar and into some of the abdominal work with Tuina. Very, very lovely work there. So that's salt moxa. And then you might say, well, what about the salt there in the navel? So what I usually do is take a little piece of couch roll, you know, the paper for on the couch, or tissue, and just put it there. And then maybe you're going to do more work, so you just continue with that. And then at the end, just say you've got salt in your navel, just bring your hand there and just, as you get off the bench, just tip that into the tissue, and it comes into the tissue, and they can put it on the treatment couch. So that's the getting out of the salt part. Now, this idea about dispersing a guo, a fruit point. So what is that, a guo, a fruit? It's an area of congestion, of fullness, of binding, of accumulation, which, of course, commonly we'd find along the course of any of the channel sinews. Or you might be interested in doing this for one of the 8 gates around the navel. Let's say you palpated all around the navel, and you've palpated those 8 gates, all 0.5 sun away from the navel, and one of them is of particular interest and significance. It's congested, it's full, it's creating radiating pain, etc. Then it would be useful for us to use a dispersing technique there to open it. So this will release any guo area before you either use your hands with techniques like pressure, anfa, or ijijan, one finger meditation, or whether you're going to needle. It will have done some of the work for you. And we use, this is a direct form of moxa. This is purple cloud formula, which you can, of course, make yourself. So let's assume that the guo was here. You put a little bit on. There's also the Japanese formula, the Shionko cream is the same as this. So it was developed for burns, for moxa burns. But it also makes a very good basis for your moxa to sit on. It sticks on really nicely. So, to disperse a guo, a smaller cone straight onto that area. So it'll stick on nicely. Same thing, use your incense stick as a taper. Just like that. It starts to smoulder straight. You only need to touch it and it will begin to smoulder immediately. Now, dispersing moxa means we want something to clear for us. So in other words, we make it burn faster. And the way we do that is by wafting and blowing, or one or the other. I usually bring a mother hand down. And you'd say to your patient, tell me when it's hot, because there's no ginger there, there's no garlic there, there's no salt, it's just the purple cloud and the moxa on top. And so they're going to feel that heat. Whoa, yeah? So as soon as they feel it, say, tell me when that's hot. Warm is fine, hot, we want to remove it. So you're deliberately dispersing, clearing, moving. And again, you'd have your vessel to put it in close by. So Isabel, tell me when that's too hot. Yeah, there we go. And the same as with the salt, just come underneath and put it straight inside the jar, the vessel, the Moxa ashtray, whatever it is you're using. Okay, so it'll leave a little bit of Moxa on there. But for guo dispersing, 1 cone is enough. Quite enough. And then you would come into that area and just take that off. And we just begin to work with that, with pressure, for example, or going into opening the gate. Or it may have been a point in the body, anywhere in the sinews. So, very nice to work with that, a dispersing style of Moxa. Rice grain Moxa or thread Moxa. So this is, this would be very common. Those of you who've got a 5 elements training will be using this all the time. But some of you aren't familiar with this. So and I think this is a very, very useful way of using Moxa because it doesn't create lots of smoke. The difference, of course, is now we're going to use this very nice refined Moxa, the Golden Mountain Moxa, like the oolong of Moxa, the champagne of Moxa. And we create these little threads by taking a little bit and just rolling it into the palm. And it creates like a little snake. And the part that we're interested in is that little thread at the top. So it's tiny. And we apply this to any point. Once we've made you can just make a snake, or you can do them as you go along. People have different preferences for that. We'll just put that to one side. And we'll choose a point. So I think Isabel would benefit from lung 9. And so, again, we're going to use a little bit of purple cloud formula there, just to help us to stick to the place. And then we're going to get our thread, or the little snake we created earlier, and we're just going to pinch the top of that off. Place that on the point. So it stands up. Light our incense stick, as before. And then literally just touch the top of that thread, and it will start to smoulder. And we have to say to them, tell me when it's hot. It'll feel like a sudden rushing. Tell me when it's hot. And you pinch it between your thumb and your little finger. And that's the easiest way of doing it. Because it's a thread, you don't feel any burning sensation yourself when you take it off. It's too tiny for that. And what they'll feel is this sudden gathering of all the qi. Very tonifying for the points, brings out the nature and the spirit of the points. So, for example, sometimes at the end of a treatment, particularly if I've done a lot of Tuina, and the patient feeling, whoa, really woozy, I might just use the low and source of their element type. Just 1 cone on each, and it'll just brings all the qi up. They're ready to leave without feeling too spaced out. They can drive home without worrying. So it's quite a nice thing to do. But any of the points, I would say it works extremely well with Tuina, and you'll see when we work with some of the Yuan Qi style work, if you're coming to hold points between the thumb and the middle finger, often that happens after Moxa. You might have applied it to the back transporting points. 3 cones would be common, so 3 times on a point, and then come and hold the point. So, for example, with this, we've applied 3 cones, for example, and then we come and hold the point. Yeah? Simple, it's very simple. Or we hold the other end of the channel. Lung 1, 2, lung 9. Drop the chi in. Make the connection between the two places. So the moxa that you've applied is now getting that gentle anfar pressure into the point. So that's certainly one to practice, and you can practice on yourself. You know, this is a very good thing to do on yourself. Make a little thread. If you've got any moxa, you can look back on this, replay this part. Yeah, replay this part. Get your purple cloud, put it on a point, whichever point you want. Maybe I'll do my own lung points, because I'm speaking such a lot. There we go. Touch it to it, and wait. And see what happens. So work on yourself. Do your own stomach 36 points. Do your own the source points that you might need. Nothing, don't feel anything, don't feel anything, don't feel anything. And suddenly, whoosh, there it is. Whoosh, and just take it off between the thumb and the little finger. And that's your thread or rice grain moxa. So I really recommend that you practice that and bring that into clinic. It'll make a huge difference when you want to tonify, strengthen and gather chi to points. And that completes all of our ancillary therapies and moxibustion.